Is everybody in? Are we live yet? Yes. Yes, we are live. What's going on, everybody? Good evening and happy Hump Day to everybody. Welcome to Horror Hump Day here on b.hive Productions Horror Hump Day. So anyhow, we are cruising through my book. Wherever the hell it is. Oh, there it is. Through my book Sleepwalkers. This came out in 2022. And yeah, I've got a link on here. Hey Beth, how's it going tonight? Hope you're feeling better, you and Bobby. Yeah, it came out in 2022. I put a little link here on the page for you guys if you're interested in buying it. I did actually get some decent reviews on it on Amazon, which I hadn't read yet. So I'm going to read those to you right now. I got 5 stars from Devlin Anderson. And let's see here. And for some reason, it just changed pages on me. Here we go. 5 stars. A pleasantly mind-bending, currently relevant, page-turning masterpiece. I bought this book on a suggestion from a friend and picked it up today to begin reading it. I was unable to put it down until I had finished reading the last page. The author winds together mythology, conspiracy, humor, and horror in a way that kept me enthralled from the first page to the last. This book is a unique story in a unique style, and it would be a disservice to say if you like author X or genre Y, you will also like this. This book will keep you entertained and engaged, so if you like reading good books, then read this one. Thank you, Devlin. Another one from Colette. 5 stars. Could not put it down. I absolutely love the book. I thought it was excellently written. I felt completely immersed in the book the entire time I was reading. The level of detail makes you feel as if you yourself are experiencing the constant thrill of horror throughout the book. I can't wait to read another book from this author. Another 5-star review from an Amazon customer. Awesome book. The references and nods to other authors were great. Bradley brings the story to life. I could see the places he described. The story sucked me right in. I thought I was going to say the story sucked. Another kick-ass book from Bradley L. Bodeker. And Anonymous gave me 2 stars, but he said it was decent, or she. Decent novel, but looking for something more intellectually stimulating. If you're into horror, the storyline is good, but it's too predictable. All right, then. I guess, yeah. Don't worry about me. I don't have feelings or anything. Anyhow, those are some of the reviews I got. Hello, Jessica. Hello, Steph and your farting bees and badgers. And good evening, Kevin. Happy, scary, no sleep night to you as well, my pal. And Beth says her and Bobby are still alive, which is good. If you got a pulse, there's always hope, right? That's what I always say. Anyhow, so there's Bobby. Hey, Bobby. So the book basically is about 2 guys who went hunting. They're in their 50s. One is Native American. The other one is part Eskimo. And they're out in the woods hunting up north in Minnesota here. And Bo, the main hero, falls asleep. And he falls through a thin spot in reality, and he ends up in a reality where he ends up meeting the Wendigo and battling a possessed friend of his, and then the whole town is possessed, and he gets chased around because they're trying to eat him. He also has to deal with a pioneer vampire pandemic. He ends up in outer space at one moment. And that is the beginning of the zombie apocalypse from that story. And he also ends up uncovering a nest of reptoid aliens in Grand Rapids, Minnesota, whose plan has been to harvest humanity and eat them. Yes, there's all kinds of stuff like that. There was an alien invasion as well, and he also met a shaman who's been trying to rescue him from these from all of these different realities that he's been busting through, and he basically gave him a talisman so that he can connect with his own reality again, and it's supposed to help him home. So that being said, he the last time he was with encountering the Wendigo, he had locked himself in the bathroom of his friend Will Stevenson's hotel, and he locked himself in the shower room, and that's kind of where he left that reality. Well, since he came back from the what was it the last time? The alien invasion. He is back in that bathroom and he is back in that reality, which brings us to the story, The Wendigo, Part 2. So, I did a little bit of research about the Wendigo, and I found some pretty interesting things. Thin spots, alternate worlds, zombies, aliens, predictable. Really? Yeah, I know, right? I don't know, Bobby. Some people have more discerning tastes, I guess. So, anyhow, what I found about the Wendigo is it's a mythological creature or evil spirit originating from Ojibwe folklore. The concept of the Wendigo has been widely used in literature and other works of art, such as social commentary and horror fiction. The Wendigo is often said to be a malevolent spirit, sometimes depicted as a creature with human-like characteristics, which possess human beings. It is said to cause its victims a feeling of insatiable hunger, the desire to eat other human beings, and the propensity to commit murder. In some representations, the Wendigo is described as a giant humanoid with a heart of ice whose approach is signaled by a foul stench or sudden unseasonable chill. In modern psychiatry, there is a disorder known as Wendigo psychosis. It's characterized by symptoms such as intense craving for human flesh and fear of becoming a cannibal. Wendigo psychosis is described as a culture-bound syndrome. In some First Nation communities, symptoms such as insatiable greed and destruction of the environment are also thought to be symptoms of Wendigo psychosis. The Wachug is a similar being that appears in legends of the Athabascan people of the Northwest Pacific coast. It too is cannibalistic. However, it is characterized as enlightened with ancestral insights. Now, folklore. The Wendigo is part of the traditional belief system of a number of Ojibwe. Although descriptions can vary somewhat, common to all of these cultures is the view that the Wendigo is a malevolent, cannibalistic, supernatural being. They were strongly associated with the North, winter, cold, famine, and starvation. An Ojibwe scholar, Basil H. Johnston, from Ontario, described the Wendigo as a gaunt to the point of emaciation. Its desiccated skin pulled tightly over its bones, with its bones pushing out against its skin. Its complexion the ash gray of death, and its eyes pushed back deep into their sockets. The Wendigo looked like a gaunt skeleton recently disinterred from the grave. What lips it had were tattered and bloody. Unclean and suffering from suppuration of the flesh, the Wendigo gave off a strange and eerie odor of decay and composition, of death and corruption. The Ojibwe often describe them as giants that are many times larger than a human being, a characteristic absent from myths in other cultures. Whenever a Wendigo ate another person, it would grow in proportion to the meal it just had eaten, so it would never be full. Therefore, Wendigos are portrayed as simultaneously gluttonous and extremely thin due to starvation. The Wendigo is seen to be the embodiment of gluttony, greed, and excess. Never satisfied after killing and consuming one person, they are constantly searching for new victims. A Wendigo need not lose the human's power of cognition or speech, and in some depictions may clearly communicate with its prospective victims, or even threaten or taunt them. A specimen of folk story collected in the early 20th century by Lottie Chickagatwa Marsden, an ethnographer of the Chippewas of Rama First Nation, in which a Wendigo also exhibits tool use, an ability to survive partial dismemberment, and auto-cannibalism. How about that? In some traditions, humans overpowered by greed could turn into Wendigos. The myth thus served as a method of encouraging cooperation and moderation. Other sources say Wendigos were created when a human resorted to cannibalism to survive. Humans could also turn into Wendigos by being in contact with them for too long. Among the Ojibwe, a satirical ceremonial dance is sometimes performed during times of famine to reinforce the seriousness of the Wendigo taboo. The ceremony, known as Wendigo Oka Ajimowich, I hope I pronounced that right, Ajimoan, was performed during times of famine and involved wearing masks and dancing backwards around a drum. The last known Wendigo ceremony conducted in the United States was at Lake Wendigo of Star Island in Cass Lake, within the Leech Lake Indian Reservation in northern Minnesota. Now, the psychosis, there was a doctor's report that was this. What caused us greater concern was the news that met us upon entering the lake, namely, that the men deputed by our conductor for the purpose of summoning the nations to be the North Sea and assigning them a rendezvous where they were to await our coming, had met their death the previous winter in a very strange manner. Those poor men, according to the report given us, were seized with an ailment known to us, or unknown to us, but not very unusual among the people we were seeking. They were afflicted with neither lunacy, hypochondria, nor frenzy, but have a combination of all these species of disease, which affects their imaginations and causes them to be more than canine hunger. This makes them so ravenous for human flesh that they pounce upon women, children, and even upon men, like veritable werewolves, and devour them voraciously, without being able to appease their appetite, ever seeking fresh prey, and the more greedily the more they eat. The ailment attacked our deputies, and, as death is the sole remedy among these simple people for checking such acts of murder, they were slain in order to stay the course of their madness. Now, this was a report from 1661. So, and it was when it was up in the Canadian wilderness when they were out there kind of scouting around out there. Anyhow, that's some backstory on the Wendigos. So, good evening, Shannon. Hey, welcome, buddy. It's good to see you. So, with that being said, oh, yes, one more thing. So, I do have some exciting news about this page. I've been looking for ways to monetize this page. And evidently, I have had enough activity and enough followers and enough interaction with you folks that I can monetize this now. Now, along, somewhere along here, I don't know if it's where the like buttons are or whatever, there is a star. And the more stars that I get, Facebook will pay me for all the stars that I get. My goal is 50 tonight to see how it goes. But every time I have a live event or something comes up, if you press star, I think every star is worth like 2 cents or something like that. But it's something, right? It's a good start. Yeah, something like that. Anyhow, so it's not like I'm asking you for money, but I am asking you for stars. So if you can do that for me, very much appreciated. Cheers, everyone. We have one more chapter to go with this book after tonight, and then we are going to go on a break after that. So anyhow, let's get into the story. The Wendigo, Part 2. When Bo opened his eyes, he was in the dark. He knew he was on a neatly tiled floor. He could hear dripping from a nearby faucet. He knew he was in a bathroom of some sort. It was clean. He could smell Lysol and bleach with a hint of pine sol. I'm back, he thought to himself. I'm back at Will and Becca's hotel. I'm in their public shower. He looked down at his hand that clasped the talisman. Suddenly, a memory rushed up to meet him. This isn't mine. Thanks for the stars, you guys. I just heard it cling. That's cool. I appreciate that. 99 cents. Awesome. Thank you, guys. Thank you very much. This isn't mine. This reality is where I met the Wendigo. I don't belong in this one. Banging on the shower door made him jump. That may be Will. But he's possessed. Him and half the town are out there waiting to eat me. Bo popped the magazine from his pistol. 9 hollow point rounds. He snapped it back into his gun and then checked his pockets for any more magazines. There was one more full mag in his coat pocket, and another magazine of 6 rounds of full metal jackets for his .308. Can I do this? I must do this. There's no other choice. I have no idea how many things are outside that door, but I have to get out and get to the thin spot. There was more banging and screeching outside the door. He looked around to find another way out and spotted the large vent for the exhaust fan. He pulled off the cover with his hunting knife and wondered what it would take to remove the fan itself, and would he be able to fit through the hole if he did. The way the hinges rattled on the shower door with the next barrage of poundings answered him. I guess I better make it fucking work. Bo pulled out his multi-tool and began taking the fan assembly apart. He dropped it several times and was frustrated as the pounding outside seemed to wreck the door more and more. Eventually, the fan motor came loose, and he let it drop to the floor. Sorry, Will. I'll pay to replace it later. He reached through the vent. He reached through and felt the vent cap on the roof and began trying to push it loose. There was one less crash, and he could hear those things rush into the shower room as he pulled his way up. Fuck. I wish I would have lost some weight like I promised I would back in my 40s. Little screws and scraps of metal cut and scratched into his flesh, and blood began to drip down below, which made those possessed by the Wendigo scream in hunger. He felt them clawing at his boot, and he pulled himself all the way up onto the roof. The cold air felt good, and he took a moment to catch his breath. He could see that the people possessed by the Wendigo were changing. Bones pushed through their skulls and grew in odd angles from their temples and down their spines. Their skin became stretched across their skeletons as if they were malnourished. A dirty white glow burned from their eye sockets, and broken, long teeth jetted from their black, bleeding gums. One of them began sniffing the air, and caught sight of Bo on top of the roof. It squealed in delight, and all the others began to squeal back. "Ah, Jesus Christ, what the fuck?" They began to try climbing onto the roof to get at him. They hog-piled on top of one another, and some fell but others did not, and were clawing their way to him. He shot 2 of them in the head and began running to the other end of the hotel. He was hoping to find some transportation to take him back to his hunting spot. Below, a hunter had left his 4-wheeler, parked behind the hotel. Bo knew he would only have seconds to get it started and out of there. The crowd had their eyes targeted on his every move, so he had to move quickly. He jumped down and landed on the seat. He turned the key that was left in the ignition and held the start button down with his thumb. It chugged and then roared to life. There was an angry growl from behind him, and he kicked it into gear and floored it out onto Main Street and headed north to Wendigo Woods. The fog was a huge problem. It seemed to have engulfed all of Cass County. He was thankful to be on a 4-wheeler because he had taken some rough terrain, but he was careful not to flip it or end up in a swamp or slough. He wondered, as the ATV ripped through the trails, how far the Wendigo's reach was. It had spread into the little hamlet of Remer, and within an hour, most citizens were possessed by it, becoming hungry minions of it. He wondered if it could poison the entire state, or even the entire country. He pulled into the grassy lot of the public hunting land he and his friend Jeff had tried their luck at getting a deer. He switched off the ATV and sat in silence. It would be dawn soon. Light was trying to creep from the eastern sky. But no birds would sing their morning songs here in this desecration of land. It is poisoned by the presence of the Wendigo. Cold, clammy, damp, misty air with the stench of death laid heavy within the thick fog. This is where my friend, my brother, fell to the Wendigo spirit. Even though this is a different version of him here, he's Jeff Eastman, nonetheless. It is here that I killed him, my friend and my brother. There's a dry hiss from the fog, and the crunch of dead leaves beneath a heavy foot. It is the beast, the demon, the spirit that haunts these woods and possessed his friends and townfolk. "Where are you?" Bo shouted into the valley. "I know you're out there!" The familiar mewling sound chitters from the depths as if it is laughing. "Come out here, coward, and face me!" "Bo," came the voice of his friend. "Bo, help me." "Jeff? Help me, please. I'm unarmed and don't know where I am." Could that really be Jeff? He thought to himself. Or is it that demon impersonating him? "Please, brother, I'm hurt." Maybe, just maybe, it's another Jeff that had also fallen through the thin spot. "Jeff!" Bo shouted. "Where are you?" I don't know," Jeff's voice said. "I can't see anything. But that thing, it bit me, and it stings. I can't seem to follow your voice. The echo is throwing me off." The demon growled, and then laughed to itself again. God damn it, this thing is playing with me. Bo! It was Jeff's voice again, and he sounded frantic, which is out of character for him. Jeff had seen a lot of things when he was deployed overseas. Not a lot frightened him. Bo, for fuck's sakes! It's got me! There was a triumphant roar, and what sounded like Jeff grunting, and then screaming as chunks of meat were ripped from his body. There was bone crunching between jagged fangs snapping in the heavy air. Bo ran into the fog, to the sound of the commotion. There before him stood the Wendigo. There was no sign of his friend. It was able to copy his voice and lure Bo here. It stood over 7 feet tall. Its body was humanoid, but emaciated as if it had been starving for years. Ragged skin stretched over a skeleton. There were patches of matted fur here and there along its naked body. Its thin, bony fingers were impossibly long and ended in jagged claws. The head was an impossible mashup of human and what Bo guessed was deer. Bones protruded from its body in pointed spikes in various places. There were torn, jagged lips that dripped around the maw that contained too many fangs. Its eyes were sunk deep into its skull and emitted a tiny, cold, white light. I'm so hungry, son of Anishinaabe, it mewled at him. Your flesh has been seasoned to my liking. Fuck that, Bo said, and shot 4 rounds into the torso. The Wendigo looked down at its scrawny chest that had 3 large holes in it. It coughed a few times and then looked up again at Bo. Foolish, it growled. I am eternal. It swung one of its clawed hands at him and ripped him open from sternum to right shoulder. It was a deep cut and began to bleed heavily. Hey, Chuck's here with the badgers and bees too. Searing pain shot up into his brain and he cried out. It tried to hit him again and he blocked its clawed hand with his rifle. It howled at him and swung again, this time hitting him in the hip and throwing his body 12 feet from where he stood. He landed on a broken tree stump and thought maybe this broke one of his ribs. I relish in the pain you feel, it chittered. The more you scream, the hungrier I become. His rifle was gone, tossed away out of sight. He reached down and pulled out his .45 and cocked it. Come at me, motherfucker, Bo said as his voice hitched with pain. Going to do away with me with that pathetic weapon of yours? Bo fired 9 shots into its face, and it screamed and backed away. Can't be too pathetic, Bo said. That backed you off. It roared with rage and pulled up a trunk of one of the dead trees. Bo got up, holding his side, and tried to run up onto the bank of the valley that they were standing in. But the beast swung the tree trunk, and it slammed into his already fractured ribs and threw him into a pile of deadfall. He tried to hold his cries in, but the pain was too great. Even the adrenaline coursing through his body was betraying him. He heard the Wendigo's footfalls, crunching through the dead twigs and leaves toward where he lay. He thought about putting the gun in his mouth and just ending it. I'd rather be dead by my own hand than to be eaten by this thing. It reached him, holding the large log above its head, ready to smash it down on top of him. It screamed triumphantly as it moved in for the kill. Bo closed his eyes and awaited his end. But it never came. After the roaring and screeching had stopped, he heard what he first thought was his own heartbeat. Softly at first, and then loudly in his head. He realized that it wasn't his heartbeat. It was the sound of a drum. A deep, guttural thrum against stretched animal skin. The Wendigo screamed again and raised the log above its head, but it froze as an old man in full regalia began to dance backwards, pounding his drum. It was the shaman he had spoke to before, and the one he'd heard in his dreams. The shaman chanted in sharp, stabbing words that were emphasized by the drum. The monster covered its ears with its clawed hands, screaming for the old man to stop. The fog was beginning to dissipate. "Shaman!" Bo cried out. "You came!" "This is the dance of our ancestors, called Wendigo Okanajimoan. They danced before the winter set in to ward off the Wendigo." "Are you killing it?" "No. I am only weakening it, so that you can pass through. But you must do it quickly." The Wendigo began mewling again, like it was hurt, and its size was beginning to shrink. "But I don't know where the thin spot is," Bo said. Between chanting and dancing and banging his medicine drum, the shaman reached into a small deerskin pouch and pulled out some dust and blew it into the air. "Open your eyes and your heart. Use the talisman to find your way home." The Wendigo had torn off one of its protruding bones and used it as a shiv and impaled the shaman. The shaman's eyes were wide with surprise, and then he tried to utter out a scream of pain that was cut short by the Wendigo's fangs sinking deep into his flesh. "No!" Bo shouted. He fired off 2 more rounds, and one landed in its left eye. It was swallowing a piece of meat when the hollowed-out lead hit its eye. It dropped the shaman's corpse, and a thick black goo gushed from its sockets. "The eyes. The only way is the eyes," were the last words spoke into Bo's head by the shaman before his lights went out. The dust the shaman had blown was sparkling in the morning light. It mingled with the dead air around it and settled on a patch behind the Wendigo. It shimmered in a blurry spot roughly 5 feet in circumference. "That's it," he thought to himself. "That's the thin spot." Bo dug his boot into the ground and gripped his talisman. "What are you planning, human?" it spat. "I've killed and eaten your shaman. Now I'm going to kill and eat you." Bo ran as fast and as hard as he could at the Wendigo. He surprised it and was easily lifted off its feet, and Bo tackled it through the thin spot. There was a suction of air, then icy hot coldness, then a loud pop, and things went from bright white to pitch black. And that, my friends, is the end of the Wendigo Part 2. So you'll have to join me next week. It's the final chapter in the book called Brothers. And we're going to be wrapping this up for you guys. So I hope you guys have enjoyed the little journey here we've taken with Bo and his friend Jeff and stuff. I've enjoyed taking you on the journey as well. Thank you very much there, Bobby, for the stars. 99 of them sent. I'm not sure what that means. Once I get that figured out, I'll let you know, buddy. Okay. So, in the meantime, thanks again. Yes, cliffhanger, Beth, as always. But yeah, we'll be wrapping this up, and trust me, I won't leave things hanging at the end of this book. So it finished itself pretty well. So I'm pretty happy with how I ended this book. I don't like to leave people hanging too much at the end of a book. So, um, haha, great chapter. Can't wait. Good. I'm glad you enjoyed it, Shannon. Shannon, I've enjoyed all your comments, and I'm very happy that you've joined us. I haven't spoke to you since I left Fairmont. So when you hopped on here back in the day, I was really happy to see you here. I want to thank everybody for your stars, for your likes, for sharing my stuff, um, for commenting, for always being here, and yeah, and all your encouragement and stuff. I know there's been a few times I wanted to hang all this stuff up, and you guys talked me out of it, and I appreciate that. So I'm glad you liked it, Jessica. Very much appreciate you guys more than you guys could possibly imagine. I I've got some ideas um, for more things to happen here at b.hive Productions. Um, but yeah, I gotta kind of get them sketched out of my head. I am still thinking about getting together with other authors and donating books to prisons for prison libraries, and they can donate their books. I'll donate some of my books or whatever, and get them sent out there so the guys have something to read. So hey, like thanks for the lack of sleep night. You're very welcome, Kevin. It's kind of why I read that little factual blurb about the Wendigo there off the Wikipedia, because I wanted just to kind of instill a little truth into that to you for you. So you're welcome for that. So anyhow, the Wendigo isn't gone yet, because Bo, well, he pushed him through another reality. So that's not necessarily a good thing, not necessarily a bad thing. You guys will find out next week. Also, join me on Tuesday next week. We'll be doing Kenny Rogers. So we got the season finale for Tunes for Tuesday. Hopefully, Bobby will be joining me for that. I'll see if I can talk Steph into singing Islands in the Stream with me. We'll see. We'll see about that. She started laughing about that. Drones are with boss. All right, we got some drones too. So yeah, we got the season finale of Tunes for Tuesday, Kenny Rogers, and the season finale for the Sleepwalker saga. Then we're gonna take a break. We've got the band's got a gig, and we all haven't played together in like 6 months, so I don't know what that's gonna be like. So I'm kind of hoping that sounded like my ex. Anyhow, yeah. So I don't know what that's gonna sound like, and we don't have a song list, and yeah, it's gonna be all kinds of adventures. And I really don't have a whole lot of time to organize stuff for the band because of EMT classes. It's been a lot harder to retain things than I thought. I'm getting better, and I've been breezing through 5 chapters now, and I've passed all the chapter tests, so that's a good thing, right? So, but outside of yeah, I mean, it takes a lot of time and energy to get through the material, and I want to do good, so it doesn't leave me a whole lot of time to organize other stuff. So, yeah, hopefully it's just not an improv night for us, but we'll see. We will see. I'm not going to lose hope, right? Right. I mean, it could just be a Tunes for Tuesday or whatever. So anyhow, you guys, thanks again for coming. I don't know if I'll be doing a coffee with friends this weekend. I'm going to be in Aberdeen for my youngest granddaughter's birthday, her first birthday party. So that'll be happening. But I will be back here on Tuesday. So, that being said, thank you very much again. If you like my stuff, please hit like, love, share, and please hit those stars. The more stars I get, the more Facebook will pay me to babble on here to you guys and tell you my stories and play you some music badly. So, I mean, who doesn't want to pay for that, right? All right. It's a small way to get monetized on here, and it's a lot easier than trying to get 10,000 followers on this page. Right? Right. So I don't even know that many people, so I don't even know how that would happen. Anyhow, you guys, have a great night. Have a great week. Enjoy your weekend. Kevin, I hope you sleep. All right? Peace out. We'll talk to you guys later. What if you guys want the book? Don't forget to click on the link in here. All right, then. All right, Dan. Do you need a shovel to get your shit together? I might need a bobcat, Chuck. I may need a bobcat for that. We'll see. I don't know. I'm ahead of the game now for now, but if people throw any more stuff at me, I'm gonna give in. So, all right. All right, you guys. I'm out of here. I'm babbling. Love you. Later. Peace. And a bottle of hair grease.